Welcome back to The Perspective. Eric, so you're a consultancy, yes? And you advise investors, companies, developers who want to engage in more sustainable green hospitality. Do you also engage with the local partners, stakeholders, the public, the local community, in order for the business to truly be sustainable? Or are you just, your main job is to just educate the business, but then it depends on the business how they can relay that to their local community?
Mm-hmm. Right. So we'll help businesses set a strategy for all the different series of issues. We'll help them put in programs where they need, work with the measurement, the data, and communicating this externally.
Yeah.
Inevitably, the local communities are a key stakeholder to any business development, especially hotels, where there's so much economic impact, environmental, social issues that go on, right? And so what we try to do is see that, okay, what are the key issues that you're going to have to address to local communities? And we know that there's certain negative perceptions of tourism, of investment, infrastructure, and so forth, and certain positive ones.
Right.
The best way to really engage, we found time over time, with local communities and stakeholders, first is to be transparent and honest about what you're doing, about the impacts you're causing, and what you're doing to actually mitigate those. So reporting, communicating, sustainability reporting is one of the ways that an investor or company can go in and say, look, this is how the programs we have. We recognize that we're causing an impact, but we're trying to do our part to reduce, and we're going to help local communities through X, Y, and Z programs, whether it's local procurement, or we're going to make sure that everything we do
using local products.
Has local products. Yeah, we're going to involve local community. We're going to build capacity. We're going to train. We're going to do volunteering and community initiatives that are actually tied to our strategy and our strengths. Right. So all of those, what we do is we help the company set the strategy, because it's not. This is where I think really the sophistication is coming in. It's not a matter of going in and doing it for one property anymore. If you have a portfolio of properties and you've done this time and time again, what are you doing across your portfolio, and how are you then not reinventing the wheel every time? Right. How do you get a strategy going that you can say, okay, we're going to set this up for everyone, set the training up, cross-pollinate, and go from there? So that's what we try to help companies work to that, so that they can then implement at the local level.
So you do work with the chain and individual brands. It is not so when. It's up to the chains to disperse or implement whatever strategy that they've worked at with you. So you've worked with various international local chains all around the world. Could you tell us the most memorable experience, perhaps, in setting up a strategy for certain or any properties at all?
Okay. Well, I think there's a couple of them for memorable ways. The first is that we had a measurement program that we set up for a company, and where they were going to track at a corporate level the energy, the water, the waste, the carbon across all their portfolio. All right. Right. So this is at the company level, and through that tracking mechanism, the hotels then report in data every month. And so they reported in data, and they discovered for one property the water had increased by triple from 1 month to the next. And they then called that property and said, what's going on with the water? We see through our benchmarking that it's a little bit high. Turns out there was a leak that the property hadn't caught.
Wow.
But because they were monitoring this, they could then show the value of actually looking at it. So that's probably one of the most tangible ROI-based stories that we can tell. Other stories, we think really, here's the honest truth about sustainability, social responsibility.
Yes.
Everybody thinks they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Everybody. If you talk to any company, CEO down, we're a fantastic company, we care, we're committed, so forth. But internally, once you go to the company and you say, look, this is what you're doing, this is what your competitors doing, and this is what the real leaders are doing, and here are the gaps. Then we see company after company helping to fill those in, and collectively move the industry forward. Right. So that's the more overall satisfactory piece of what we're able to do.
Yeah, right. What's the most challenging factor in trying to buy in so that the investors buy in your strategy? Has there been any, the most challenging factor, may that be trying recycling or design or supplies maybe? What's the most challenging or difficult product to sell?
I see. So I think there's challenges at an organizational level and then at a property level. Organizationally, the biggest challenge we get is the structure of the hotel industry, right? It's fragmented. So you have a brand, a management company for the property, and an owner. And they may be 3 separate entities. So ultimately, getting something implemented means that somebody has to sign off of it who may not have an interest in doing so.
Right.
And so putting in efficient technology in your building, putting in any other spend that's going to maybe generate a return but is an upfront cost, getting an owner to sign off on that who doesn't have a corporate strategy, who doesn't have investor pressures or anything like that,
right.
that's a tough sell. And so, or who doesn't realize the risks that it's taking for not having a building that addresses this or a program that addresses. So what we try to do there is just basically demonstrate, look, this is the trend that's going on and this is how it's being addressed. And here are the cases where it's going to work. So that's one. Second is also to work and engage with owners to get them to understand how this is going to benefit across the board, right?
Yeah.
And then structurally, there's ways that we can improve that also through an industry. But and then on property, one of the things is, sustainability or environmental social issues. It's not like there's a set solution because the planet hasn't solved this yet, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing is, okay, there's innovation, things going on, but there's not necessarily a set structure within a property or like a hotel that can actually go and implement. For example, you want to go and give to a local community, or you want to help build capacity. In the accounting system for the hotel, there might not be a line item to actually go and do that. And so you say, well, I can't do it just because how do I account for this to begin with? It's not operations, it's not, that kind of thing. So that's one. Second is, a lot of times it's cross-functional. So waste is probably the biggest challenge on a property. First, internally, and then getting it downstream. So verifying what's going on with waste. Because it's going to involve various departments, there's operational issues, there's design issues. And so it's tough to actually reduce and divert waste from landfills, making sure at the property it's getting separated right, and then making sure downstream it's going somewhere correctly, then working with external entities. So that's probably the most difficult right now that we're seeing.
All right, we'll take another short break. We'll be back on The Perspective.